Hi, I'm Tom Spiegel with the Spiegel Law Firm, where we help people who've been wrongfully fired or afraid that they might be. Today, I want to talk to you about a 25-cent legal word or legal term, and that is, what is an adverse employment action? An adverse employment action in the law is a fancy way of saying something bad that happened at work that could be the subject of a lawsuit. Doesn't mean you win it, but it could be the subject of a lawsuit. There are a category of things that happened at work that, regardless of how bad they were or inappropriate they were, couldn't even be the basis of a lawsuit because they are not considered by the court an adverse employment decision. So what is an adverse employment decision? What are some specifics? Some of them are pretty clear. If you've been fired, that's an adverse employment decision. If you've been demoted, that's an adverse employment decision. If you've been harassed and retaliated against, that's an adverse employment decision. It's basically something that changes an action that the company takes to change the nature of your job in some respect. So what about those things that happen at work that can be bad and inappropriate that would not be an adverse employment decision? One is being put usually on a performance improvement plan or a PIP. Courts have held that being put on a PIP in and of itself cannot be an adverse employment decision, even if the reason was discriminatory. However, if you were later fired for that same reason, that is an adverse employment decision, and you can use the evidence that you were put on a PIP earlier as part of that claim. But just being put on a performance improvement plan by itself is not something a court is going to recognize. Also, if something happens at work, but it doesn't really affect your job in any significant way, so somebody says something to you that is discriminatory, but they don't change your title, they don't change people that report to you, they don't change your benefits, you seem to be on the same career trajectory, then you have not experienced an adverse employment action. It can be kind of muddy, and you want to talk to a lawyer to figure out what that is, but when you hear that term, that 25-cent legal term, the adverse employment action, that's what it means.